not simply vaporize them?
Like this?
We have a restoration for you today. And you're probably saying, does RetroBlasting even do restorations anymore? Yes, many of them in the background, like this Terrordrome restoration. The reason it hasn't been on camera yet is because I've spent the last 2 years and 6 attempts trying to clean and whiten this ring. And if I can ever get that accomplished, you will see a Terrordrome restoration. In the meantime, we have this Starfleet phaser from the Playmates Star Trek line. The Playmates Star Trek toys come with a unique challenge when it comes to collecting them mint in the box, specifically the vehicles and the roleplay toys, because they were all boxed with batteries so that you could demo them in the stores, push the buttons, hear the sounds, be enticed to buy the toy. Neat idea, not really good for long-term collectability, because batteries explode.
The hull has been compromised.
Wonder how bad.
They burst, they corrode. When you see one, whether it's a phaser or a starship that's still sealed in the box after all these years, this one being from 1997, you're rolling the dice. You're taking a chance on how bad is the damage going to be.
Probably attempting to ascertain why we are reversing. Wondering whether we detect her.
The only way to really collect these safely and responsibly is to find them from people who were already forward thinking about that, and they carefully removed the batteries from the item and then put the item unplayed with back in the box with all of its twist ties and everything. That's the best way to collect these Playmates roleplay and vehicle toys. So why do I have this one? Well, for one, I was always a big fan of the phasers from the original crew era. I have the Wand Collection phaser and communicator upstairs as my ultimate original series props. And Diamond Select did an amazing range of original crew era phasers and communicators from the movies. They did an exclusive version of the phaser from the motion picture. They did the Wrath of Khan phaser. They did the Star Trek 3 phaser. However, they never got around to doing the Star Trek 5-6 phaser, which is often known as the Assault phaser, which happened to be one of the last phasers that Playmates did in its original run with the Star Trek license. And this was the last original crew era phaser they made. Because of that, and because cosplayers want them as well as collectors, this particular phaser toy goes for a tidy sum of money on the secondhand market, loose or in an open but otherwise mint box. And I think that's why I got such a massive deal on this one, because I, like a lot of people, noticed it's still sealed up, which means the batteries inside could be corroded and blown up. Now, I'm a collector of Star Trek original crew phasers because I just love them. I'm not a costumer. But I was competing in this market for a long time trying to find one. And I thought, well, maybe at this price and with my experience restoring toys, there's a chance that I can save this one. Depending on how it was stored, I hope it was stored like this, upright, because the batteries are in the bottom in a kind of magazine. So if the batteries did burst, maybe everything corroded down and I can just replace connector springs. Fingers crossed. But I don't know. So we're going to have to open this up on camera and see what we're dealing with. So let's get started.
Doctor, would you care to assist me in performing surgery on a torpedo?
Fascinating.
Okay, here we go. This is the Star Trek Starfleet phaser from 1997, I believe. Yep. From Playmates Toys, based on the phaser from Star Trek's 5 and 6. And it is sealed. There is no way into this thing. It is completely sealed. This side feels a little more loose. So let's see what we find. 26 years, and it's finally coming out of hibernation. Collector's number 2,459 of what looks to be 161,044. So theoretically, this is not a rare toy, yet it commands rare prices. Okay, there's our instruction sheet and our blueprints. We have twist ties, and the way this is going to work is this magazine right here. This magazine is where the batteries are loaded in. I hope to goodness there's a miracle. I really do. Oh boy. More twist ties. This was the big problem with Playmates' strategy. Because in order to get this thing off the card to remove the batteries, you have to go, or out of the box, I should say, you have to go through all of this, which is really next to impossible to put back in a kind of mint condition configuration. So collectors just have to accept that they either want something that's potentially destroyed inside the box, or they want something that they know is intact, even if the packaging is somewhat butchered in the process. Obviously, you can be fairly careful, but it would be amazing if no restoration was required on this. If these batteries just came out dead but clean, this would be the greatest bit of luck. I just don't think I'm that lucky. Get that out. All right, that's the last twist tie. There's our phaser. Okay, so this... Okay, now thank goodness we have... It's hard to see here on camera because it's black, but we have exposed screws. That's really good. So if we have to get into this thing, we can. You can see those screw holes right there. But let's... Ooh, oh, yeah. Oh. Oh. Well, that's clean. That's really clean. Now, these batteries have burst. Ooh. Whoa. Okay, there's only a small amount of corrosion in one battery compartment. And it's at the bottom, which means that this thing was properly stored upright, which means that since it was stored this way, all the battery acid fell down, which is exactly what you want to have happen in a situation like this. So this magazine needs a little bit of cleaning, and then theoretically, this thing should work really well. There is no corrosion whatsoever. There's no corrosion whatsoever inside the phaser itself, as you can see. There's... Ah, my hand... Come on, go. There. There's absolutely no corrosion in there at all. I think we dodged a major bullet and got a fairly rare phaser for a really good price. All right, I'm going to get some vinegar out, and I'm going to repair this, get that cleaned up, and then I'm going to get some new batteries put in it, and let's cross our fingers.
You men have work.
Yes, ma'am.
Then snap to it.
Well, thankfully, that was a pretty quick job. I was able to get some white vinegar into the magazine, and then I put that, sort of suspended it in a drinking glass so that the vinegar would sit in there. Unfortunately, this is not watertight, So the vinegar kind of dripped out into the glass every now and then, and I'd have to take it out of the glass and then take the glass and then pour it back in. But I kept coming up and checking on it. And then after it had been there for several hours, I went in with Q-tips and some toothpicks and scraped out a lot of the corrosion, just really cleaned it up. And then it was as best as it was going to get. So now we get to see if this is going to work. And fortunately, like I said, there was no real extensive corrosion in here. Clearly, this phaser had been stored upright in the box. You know, the box had been stored the way it would have been displayed on a shelf, which is really great. If it had been laid down like this, or if it had been like this, or something like that, that could have gotten really troublesome, because I thought we were going to have to go in to all these screw points right here and totally disassemble this thing. When I bought this, I was prepared for that to happen. I thought, you know what, this may be a situation where we have to clean a lot of corrosion out of this and see what's going to be necessary. But thankfully, that's not the case here. The question is, will the small amount of repair that had to happen that looks cosmetically nice right now, will that be enough for a full repair? So I have 2 fresh AA batteries here, and we're just going to drop these into this magazine and see if it works out. I do like the way they designed this battery compartment. You don't see that very often with role-play toys. Usually they have some awkward door or something like that, but this fits right in. So it fits right in like this, and then it clips. You can hear that. There's a release button on the back, so if you wanted to open it up, you just pull it out. All right. Like that. Okay, that's in there. There's no activation switch on here to turn the sounds on and off like there is on the Diamond Select ones. And those generally use watch batteries, so they're very expensive to get batteries back into. These are relatively inexpensive by comparison, not as accurate in their design. This phaser is pretty close though. But first of all, let's just see if the repair worked. All right, here we go. Ah, look at that.
We've got a heartbeat.
There we go. And if we, let's see if the front light works. Awesome. And let's see, there's a switch here, I think, that changes the, okay, so, wow, that switch doesn't move very much. So this is, I think, vaporize.
She's ready, Jim. Lock and load.
Man, that's great. Oh. Oh. Well, that's dumb. All right, so check this out. So they put and I'll show this in close-up here, they put the speaker holes for the phaser into your right palm. Now, I think it's wonderful that a toy company finally decided to give southpaws an advantage in the role-play laser gun department. But for most people, like, you can hear the robustness of the sound right here, right? But if I put it in my right hand, where I cover up these speaker holes, and maybe they did that on purpose to give parents a break, I don't know. But this looks pretty good. I mean, I'm thrilled to find out that I was able to get this particular Playmates phaser for a third of what it normally goes for. And mint in the box, no less, which is a risk. That was a huge risk. But it all turned out okay. Wow. Good deal. Oh, it doesn't stand up very well, does it? All right, well, we'll just leave that well enough alone. Still got to figure out what this is all about.
I just assumed you didn't.
Well, it looks like we dodged a bullet, or in this case, a phaser blast, on this project. I really thought that we were going to be running into some real trouble with this guy. I thought this was going to be a risk in the other direction. I know the whole thing about Playmates demo features back then. I remember going into toy stores over and over and over again and seeing that. And as cool as it was to hear those sound effects without having to purchase, I thought at the time, I was like, geez, this is going to be a real gamble. Every time I bought one of the Playmate ships that are on the shelf over there on display, and a number of others that are in storage in the room back there, because they stack up, they're all in their boxes and stuff. Even I've forgotten sometimes to take the batteries out of certain things. I almost lost a original trilogy, Star Wars brain. I almost lost an original series Romulan Bird of Prey from Playmates that way. Fortunately, I caught it. I realized, like a year or two later, I was like, oh crap. And I went in there and I saw it was starting to corrode and I was able to scrape it off. But these Playmates toys can be a real headache in the collectability mint in box department. So this really should have gone the other way. And I want you all to take away from this that I don't want to recommend, even after this experience, buying mint in box Playmates role play toys and vehicles if they're still sealed and you don't have a lot of experience dealing with battery corrosion. In this example, you would have gotten away with it. If you don't have any experience in that area, more than likely you would have been able to fix this and have a great result. But I didn't expect it to be this easy.
Did someone fire off a phaser?
It's all right. It's nothing.
So I can't in good conscience say, oh, based on this result, go find yourself a discount. Get yourself a mint and sealed box Playmates phaser. And you're going to be good to go, because I just can't guarantee that. But you can see why this phaser is desirable. Not just because it's from Star Trek VI and not just because it's the last phaser made, but because of how well made it was. Playmates made sure to put the light and sound features into it. They even gave it some of its, mechanical features from the fiction, the lore of the series. And this is a resin phaser that Jody gifted me several years ago for my collection. And you can see that even though this one's taken off of the prop itself, the Playmates one is not far off. I mean, this one is really close, and this one's inert. It's for photographs. It's for cosplaying at conventions and stuff, but it doesn't have any features on it. This one, on the other hand, you get all that with it. And just as a toy collector, I've always loved the blasters, the lightsabers, the phaser toys, all that kind of stuff from the original trilogy, and in this case, the original crew era. So having this finally in my collection is really, really neat. I'm so glad to finally own this toy. Even if it is a little bit different from the original prop, that's to be expected. But as close as they were getting in 1997 with a mass-produced toy to this original prop, I still say this is like a 10 out of 10 toy all the way around. They really did a good job with this. They really, really did. But I did not know until I opened that box whether or not this was going to be a major project or whether or not it was going to be a miracle. And in this case, it was a little somewhere in between. It was a minor miracle. There was very little that had to be done to bring this back. I got really, really lucky on this. But I want to just stress that that's why I put the question mark on the thumbnail of this video, because I made the thumbnail before I started this video because I knew I was going to be opening that box on camera for all of us to see what the situation was. So for those of you who were hoping for a big multi-part restoration, I promise you that I did not know what the outcome of this was going to be, or should I say the situation. So if you saw that restoration label on the thumbnail and you feel cheated or something like that out of a video experience, I just want you to know that I wasn't telling a fib.
A lie?
An error.